As I've already reviewed this watch, and will leave a link to the video below, this video will be kept fairly short and not to my normal format. About a year ago, I wanted a decent quality pick up and go quartz watch that looked nice and had a decent water resistance just in case I ever got to go on holiday again. After looking around, I discovered the Panzera Aquamarine Caspian. Panzera, an Australian brand, but from what I read, are made in Germany of all places. Most of their watches are the size of cuckoo clocks, but they did decide to make a 38mm version of this watch, which they originally called a ladies' watch, then realised it would be better to market it as unisex. In all honesty, I believe few women can carry off a 38mm watch, and the majority of ladies' watches are 34mm or below. Anyway, I found a good used blue version on eBay, negotiated a price, and pressed the button. For no sensible reason, I ended up selling the watch to a friend 6 months later, then ended up regretting it. In actual fact, I even offered to buy it back from him, but he wasn't interested. I had a look around for another one, but alas, there was nothing available for the right price. Still needing a pick up and go quartz watch with a good water resistance, I started to have a look around again. A few weeks ago, I bought a rotary Henley GMT and recently produced a video on it. It was a good value for money watch, but a little bit too similar to one I already owned. And although reasonable quality, not as good as the Panzera. To be fair though, the full price of the Panzera next to the rotary is considerably more. Shortly after receiving the rotary, I noticed a brand new black version of the Caspian on eBay for £350, but it did have a make an offer option on it. I cheekily offered £170 and guess what, it was accepted. You see, every now and again a supplier needs some cash flow. It's always worth a punt making a silly offer. I quickly flipped the rotary and now have the Panzera again. So welcome to my unpaid and unsponsored review of the Panzera Aquamarine Caspian Revisited. So let's start with the dimensions. As mentioned, it's got a 38mm case, a 20mm lug width, it's 11mm deep, it's got lug to lug of 46.5mm, and on this tropic strap it weighs about 70 grams. Now the watch came on this Milanese strap. I don't have an issue with Milanese straps, in actual fact I quite like them. This one's very good, it's a nice quality, it's got quick release spring bars, and it's got a signed clasp. However, I think it looks better on this. Now I had this strap in stock. As you can see, it's a black tropic strap with red stitching, and I think it suits the watch perfectly. Inside is a quartz Myota 2015 movement. These are a Japanese movement developed by Citizen. They've been around for a long time now. They're very reliable, accurate to within a few seconds a month, and the battery lasts about 3 years. If they ever do go wrong, they're quite inexpensive to replace, but it's unlikely you'll ever get that problem. Unfortunately, the second hand doesn't hit all the markers, but this doesn't unduly bother me, although I know it drives some people absolutely potty. Perhaps a Seiko VK movement with its 4 ticks per second would have been a better option. Then everybody would have been happy. It's got a flat sapphire crystal with some AR coating on the underside. Now the case is quite interesting, it's a cushion style. Whilst I would have preferred some of it to be brushed, it's fully polished, but that's just personal preference. That said, it's very nicely done, and the finish is absolutely excellent. Flipping it over, you can see a rather interesting screwback case, which incidentally helps its impressive 200-metre claim water resistance. It's partly engraved and partly laser etched, and there is some basic information engraved around the edges. There are 2 tiny Swarovski diamonds next to the 12 o'clock, which is something I'm not that keen on, but they're so small they're barely noticeable. Other than that, this dial is extremely attractive and it's quite unusual, especially the colour match date window. I particularly like the hollow arrow hands and the red accents. The dial itself is a matte black and the indices are painted on. Unfortunately, the lume is quite poor. I believe it's BGW9, but it hasn't been applied very heavily. Now let's have a look at that loom, but we're going to have to be quick because it doesn't last very long. Oh, I've forgotten to mention the crown, which in my opinion is one of the watch's highlights. It's a nice chunky 7.5mm, which is beautifully knurled, signed and screws down, and the engagement is buttery smooth. Honestly, it's a pleasure to use, but with the quartz movement inside, it's not actually going to get used that often, is it? That just about brings me to the end of this brief summary. But if you want to know more about this watch in detail, please have a look at my previous video. So would I recommend it? Well, I've now bought 2 of these, so I suppose the answer's got to be yes. However, as nice as it is, I believe the price I paid is fair, and I think you shouldn't be spending more than £200, maybe £220, that's $240, $250, isn't it? Well, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please click on the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave your comments below, and enjoy the rest of your day.